In this lesson, we're going to take a look at how to create a seamless texture that has specific detail that must be matched up properly. Alright, so we have this metal walkway here, and in the image we've got several things that are wrong with it. For one, we can see that the angle is off. We've got a shadow that creeped into the image and things like that, and these are all things that we may have to take care of. Now, with images like this, these may not be as easily accessed. So what we need to do is we need to try to fix this as best as possible. And really looking at this really isn't all that hard of a fix. It might take you maybe, it could take you up to 20 minutes or so to really fix this up really nicely. So to get started with this, let's go ahead and double click on this to create its own layer. Let's resize the image. Let's go to image size. Let's check our lowest proportion, our lowest height here, and let's go to 2048. We're going to do reduction and hit OK. Now that we have that set, let's go ahead and get our guides out. So it looks like 11 3/8. Well, let's go to 11 3/8 here. And you'll see that we have a bigger problem. Okay, we need to fix our angle. So let's get in here and let's start to create some guides to help us with this. So I'm going to bring this guide right here across the top of this metal rivet right here. So just zooming in, you can see right here that guide is right along the top there, and you can see definitely how that slopes down. So this is definitely going to be something that we need to fix. Let's create one more guide at the bottom, and let's line it up with one of these rivets right here along the top over here. Okay, so just grabbing my move tool, I want to make some fine adjustments here, making sure that it's right along the top there. Okay, so now that we have those, let's go ahead and line this up horizontally. So to start out, let's hit Control and T, and I just want to zoom in a little bit, and I want to make sure that I'm moving across this line right here. And I'm going to raise this up, so hold down Control and Shift. Let's transform that until the correct set of rivets are where they need to be. Okay, so it looks like that line is pretty close. Now, it has raised up this side as well. So we just want to go through and make sure that the top corner of those rivets are above that line. We may have to do just a little bit of work here. Let's lower that down just a little bit. Let's make sure the top of those are still there. Lower it down just a little bit more. Okay, so still across the top, and we're starting to lose some of that here. And no worries, let's go ahead and hit Enter. And I'm going to show you one more trick to lining things up like this. First off, let's cut out anything extra. So using our crop tool, let's crop that out, and then let's grab our marquee tool, and let's go ahead and make a marquee selection to, let's say, right about here. Now this is the rivet that is lined up with the rest of those, and you can see here this begins to kind of lower down a little bit more. So I'm going to go ahead and let that rest right here. Now what I'm going to do with this marquee selection is I'm basically freezing the position of these here. So what I want to do is I want to select everything on this side and stretch it up a little bit more. So I'm going to hit Control and I to make sure that I have, Control Shift I to make sure that I have the inverse selection. So these are not going to be bothered by my transformation. So let's hit Control T. Hold down Control and Shift, and let's drag that up a little bit more, and let's get the rest of those rivets lined up properly. So let's drop that down just a little bit, and just kind of looking at this, this is looking good. Coming across, these are starting to stoop down just a little bit. So I'm going to hit Enter. Let's hit Control and D. Let's crop out anything extra. Let's use our marquee selection tool again, and let's come in here and let's go to, see, it looks like this one Yeah, this one's pretty good here. So let's come in here and let's select everything on this side. Right about there. That looks good. Okay, so now let's hit Control T again. And let's hold Control and Shift. And let's transform that up a little bit, just trying to get that to line up properly. Now what we're doing here, instead of bending the entire image from this side to that side, is we started out, we bent the whole thing up to a certain point, then we told the first section that was correct to hold still. So we made a marquee selection of everything else that we wanted to bend up a little bit. We got those straight, and then we made this smaller selection, bent those up, and now this entire line should be perfectly straight here. Now let's come in and let's take a look at our next line. So let's readjust this guideline. Let's pull that up to the top corner of these rivets, and this is pretty close all the way across up until about this point here. So let's hit Control and D, grab our marquee tool, and let's go to, looks like right about in here. So just past this guideline here. Let's come in here and we'll select it right about there. So now let's go right over here, about midway. Okay, so now let's hit Shift Control and I, Control T, and we're going to take this side down. So hold Control and Shift, pull that down, get those rivets to line up. So straight across, all the way across there. Let's hit Enter. Let's back up, and let's crop out anything extra. So let's crop out our entire canvas. That way it gets rid of that extra information on the outside. So we've lined this up horizontally. Just to make sure, let's come through and just check a few of these different rows of rivets here, just to make sure that we are lined up pretty well. So we're looking really good, just kind of checking these. Alright, so now that we've taken care of the horizontal, let's take care of the vertical. So I'm going to bring one in here, and let's go to right about here, and right out to the outside of this rivet right here. Let's grab our Move tool, and you can see that it's on the corner, and it definitely starts to slope right from that point there. So let's take care of that. Actually, with this one, let's do this. Let's move this to the outside corner right here along this rivet here. Because what I want to do is I want to take the top corner and pull it out this way. Okay, so we have that one. Let's create one more over here. So I'm going to go to the, let's go to the corner of this one right in here. Looking down, you can see that we need to pull this side out. So let's back up, and let's take care of this right here. So I'm going to hit Control and T, and we're going to hold down Shift and Control. We're going to pull this corner out, and we're going to get this lined up really well. Okay, so just kind of looking at that, making sure that our guides are working, and looking at this, should be pretty close. Let's pull that out a little bit more. Okay, I'm just looking at the distance between those corners now because it has pulled those away quite a bit from that line. So let's hit Enter. Let's grab that guide and let's just check our alignment again. So looking at this, the corners are pretty good. I got away from it a little bit. So what we could do, come in here and hit Control T, and we could push this side in just a little bit more. But now that I look at that, that's pretty close. So let's go ahead and just stick with it. So let's hit Enter. Now let's check our other guide here. Let's make sure that this is correct. So making sure that it's right on the corner of those, because we did pull that around some. Hit Control T, let's grab this corner. Hold Shift and Control and just drag that out. And it looks like we've done that pretty well. Alright, so let's hit Enter. And let's crop out that extra information on the outside of our canvas. Okay, so now we have this lined up vertically as well as horizontally. So let's grab a guide, let's just check these. Just kind of doing a spot check here. And just kind of looking at this side, it looks like it's a little off. Might do just a little bit more work on that. Just pull that out slightly. Let's check this side. Those are lined up pretty well. Okay. So I'm just going to hit Control T really quickly and just pull this side out just a little bit. And hit Enter. Let's recrop that. Alright, so now that we have our horizontal and we have our vertical, we are now in a position to go ahead and start creating the left and right seams as well as the top and bottom seams. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to get started in that in our next lesson. Alright, so I'll see you then.